I would now like to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Todd Staples, who Senator Nichols almost give almost word for word of what I'm about to say. Mr. Staples is currently the president of the Texas Oil and Gas Association, known as TXOGA. As president of the state's oldest and largest trade association representing the industry, Todd has focused on expanding TXOGA's presence as the go-to source for reliable and credible oil and gas information. Working with the TXOGA board, Todd developed a strategic communications plan to educate voters and elected officials on the industry's contributions to the state. He has established a political action committee that played a critical role in electing pro-industry lawmakers. During the last session, he led a bipartisan effort for passage of landmark legislation that provides cities with the authority to reasonably regulate the surface activity while affirming the regulation of oil and natural gas production is under the exclusive jurisdiction of the state. Prior to TXOGA, Todd served as, get this, Texas Agriculture Commissioner, winning 2 statewide elections. He also served with distinction in the Texas Senate and Texas House of Representatives. Please join me in welcoming Todd Staples.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be with you today. I'm excited about being on campus. President Evans, thank you for the invitation. Dr. Craig, the work that you're doing to launch the Center for Midstream Management and Science. I always enjoy listening to engineers present issues, and I think I'm going to be good right here. I was just giving him a minute to get transitioned over, and I've got a clicker. I may need an engineer to help me figure this out, but I think I can get it right here, the up arrow maybe. All right, good. There we go. Looky there. You know, it's funny, engineers in the legislature, they make lists, right? They check lists. There's a checklist, and that's a good thing because they make sure you don't leave out issues. Representative Desotel, the attorneys in the legislature, though, are trying to figure out what those lists mean, and they're arguing about that. Senator Nichols alluded to the fact that we knew one another prior to his public service, and you get to go do things with him, but when you do, he gives you a list, and it's like, you know, your day to cook's on Tuesday, your day to wash dishes is on Wednesday, and your day to clean up is on Thursday. And the lawyers in the legislature want to know, well, what does cooking really mean? I'm neither. I'm a real estate appraiser, so I'm trying to assign value to the cooking, to the cleaning, and the dishwashing to see which one's getting a better deal here. So it's an exciting day to be a Texan. Anyone here today just a little bit proud to be a Texan? Hey, I tell you what, you absolutely should be. We have much to be proud of, a great deal to be thankful for. And I know this, the continued development of infrastructure is absolutely essential. If we want to maintain a strong economy, if we want to maintain the high quality of life that we have benefited from today. And I'm excited about the partnership between academia, the partnership between private industry, the fact that we have such a good legislature, Senator Nichols, Representative Paul, Representative Desotel, I know Representative Phelan represents this area, Senator Creighton, and others who recognize how all that comes together, and we realize this, there's oil and natural gas all over the world today. But where's it being produced? It's being produced right here in Texas because we have a science-based regulatory approach, and I think that's an exciting thing. Now, today in modern society, there's a big debate about what things mean. We sometimes, when we listen to the news and we hear speeches, you have to kind of separate fact from fiction from time to time. Would you all agree with this statement? This dynamic industry that we're really celebrating here today has literally changed the world. Think about that. We're living longer, we're living better, we're living more affluently than ever before because of the access to affordable, reliable energy that has transformed our lives. It is absolutely transformational. Are there things that we can do better? Absolutely. And we'll talk about some of those things today. But I want to ask you that, and hopefully convince you that there is an absolute commitment from industry to making those improvements, and we'll talk about some of those things here today. Now, the Texas Oil and Gas Association is comprised of all sectors of the industry. I'm very proud of the work that our members have done to help build this great state over the years. Our members collectively produce in excess of 90% of the oil and natural gas in this state. Our members collectively are responsible for operating over 80% of our state's refining capacity, and our members are responsible for a vast majority of our state's pipelines, and I see many of them here today. They make a significant investment in Texas, but also in the United States, as our panel talked about, the opportunities to take the work that's done here in Lamar and literally shape what goes on across the nation. But we also know that what happens in Texas does change the world, and it's exciting to see how that technology can be advanced all over. The mission of our association has stayed fairly consistent throughout the years. We're based on sound science. Political science comes into play from time to time, we know, but we think that if we can agree on the science, we can absolutely have a more robust economy and to move things forward. Our association is basically focused on four key areas: a fair legislation, science-based regulation. We want to make certain that our judicial outcomes are that Lady Justice has blindfolders, and that we have outcomes that reflect our laws that our legislature passes. And then industry affairs and public affairs, and that's what we're doing here today, is having that conversation. And I might add that our industry partners with institutions of higher learning all across the state. Our industry, I'm very proud of the fact that we are focused on a culture of safety. Our association has a workers' comp safety group that we want to make certain that our employees out there that are doing the real work have access to good quality care, and we appreciate the work that's done there. Texas Oil and Gas Association is 100 years old this year. We're celebrating our centennial anniversary there, and we're really focused on the innovation, the research, the technology that has transformed this industry over the past 100 years. We're focused on the men and women who have made that possible, and that's what we're really celebrating, the dedication to know-how and to always finding and learning and doing better, and we're excited about where we're going. Today, I want to have a conversation with you on these four things that are on the board here before you. Really, the first one is the importance of the Texas oil and natural gas industry to our state, to our nation, and our world. And then obviously the second one is, what is the oil and natural gas industry doing to make climate progress? What are we doing about environmental stewardship? And those are fair questions to ask, and ones that this industry needs to be able to respond to. Then I want to get into a little bit some of the questions that I heard about the challenges and the opportunities that and how that leads, and we'll get into that. And if I don't talk too long, maybe we'll have time for a question or two before the break as well. And then very importantly, what your role is. Now, how many people are engineers here today? How many people are attorneys that you'll admit it's okay, this group of engineers, we won't beat you up, it's fine. Marketing experts, right? We got some of you. Salesmen, business development. How many are involved in communications? That's part of your role here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you've all 5, 6. All right. 7. Y'all, what'd you say, landman? There you go. Here's the point I want to make. We're at an academic institution. They give tests here. You've all just failed your first test. If communications is not a part of your job every day, we're not going to be able to move forward as an industry. We do a lot of message testing. The public wants to hear from you. They want to hear from landmen. They want to hear from business development. They want to hear from engineers about what you do, because you can explain it better than anyone else can, and it has to be explained on the elevator speech, not the 30 or 40 page documentary. But we all need to be a part of telling that story, and that's what I really want to do today, is talk about how we can all engage in telling that story. And the first point is just to discuss what some of that story might be that you're telling. Now, you notice how big Texas is in that slide, and how small the world is. That's kind of our view of the world, isn't it, as Texans? You know, you go, nobody thinks a thing about that here in Texas, but when you go to other states, they kind of confused about that. But here we get it. And that is because Texas does play an outsized role on many fronts. And I want to tell you, no matter where you're located in the world today, no matter where you might be on this planet, if there is a question about energy, the conversation comes to Texas. And the reason why is that you are the bedrock of innovation, of where maybe our guys didn't think of the concept, but the concept was probably commercialized right here in the Lone Star State. And that is an exciting thing. Texas produces almost 5 million barrels of oil a day. And we produce so much gas that we don't know what to do with it all quickly enough, then we're having struggles to get that done. And if you think about that, we produce over 40% of our entire nation's capacity. That's astounding. And think about the rapid growth that we've had. That's been like a 150% increase in production in 7 years alone. Right now, there's a lot of the press that wants to ask where we are now in the bust cycle that we've been in the boom cycle for 7 years. I kind of think of it in the catching our breath cycle. I kind of think of it in a time to get organized and a time to kind of reassess of where we are, because rapid growth like that always leads to times where you reach a plateau. And so what are we going to do in this time of plateau, and what are we going to be thinking about moving forward? When you think about Texas and you're telling your story, if Texas were its own country, that's real popular, particularly here in deep East Texas, I know. We would rank as the 4th largest country in the world when it comes to oil and gas production, behind Saudi Arabia, Russia, and the United States. Texas all by itself, we are bigger than many OPEC countries today in producing oil and natural gas. What is happening here literally is changing the world. More of that story that I want to talk about. Even if you don't remember anything else that's said today, I hope you'll remember the 3 numbers that are on the screen: 14, 29, and 348. 14 represents $14 billion that were paid in 2018 in state and local taxes and state royalties alone. $14 billion. This doesn't count the capital investment. This doesn't count the payroll that is staggering and so beneficial to so many families in our state. The work that's done here at Lamar is greatly influenced by that $14 billion in state and local taxes and state royalties. And even an Aggie like me that didn't get to go to Lamar knows $14 billion a year is $38 million a day going to fund our schools, our universities, our roads, our first responders. Many states in the country would gladly trade places with us to have that type of revenue so that policymakers could use it for these public priority issues. Now, the second number is 29. And so 29 is reflective of 29% of our entire state's economy is tied to oil and gas in terms of our gross state product. That does include the capital investment. That does include the payroll, the other investments that are made. $14 billion in state and local taxes and state royalties, 29% of our state economy, and that equates to 348,000 people last year that had a direct paycheck from oil and gas. This doesn't include the indirect, the spinoffs, and all the other things that occur. 348,000 families whose lives have been changed because of this industry have created a better quality of life, because most of these jobs are substantially higher paying than what the average public sector job is. These are great things. And so if you think about 14 and 29 and 348, that adds up to 96. And you're thinking right now, you have to be an Aggie to get that, right? And I share that one more figure with you, 96, because 96% of the products that we use in our everyday lives are comprised of a component of oil or natural gas. And it's fun things like tennis shoes and sports equipment, but it's important things like heart valves and syringes and IV bags that save our lives, or all have a component of oil or natural gas. And this is a powerful story to tell. And if this isn't good enough, We're all living longer today because of oil and natural gas. Our lifespan has increased over 60% from 1900 to the year 2000. Now you may be saying, well, Todd, that's kind of far-fetched to think that's all attributable to oil and gas, but think about it in these terms. Have we had made advancements in medicine during that time period? Absolutely. And we're so proud of the work that's been done. But it's been able to be accomplished because of affordable, reliable energy where technology in these research labs can be powered, and because of the components in oil and natural gas and the medical life-saving products that we've discussed. Just as significantly, oil and natural gas has helped us manage our environment and helped us improve our overall living conditions. Don't you like being in Beaumont, Texas in the summertime in a nice, cool, air-conditioned building rather than being there with swamp coolers that, by the way, had to be powered with electricity that was powered by natural gas producing plants as well? We know that oil and natural gas has helped us manage our environment, and while doing all of this, industry is a leading investor in zero and low carbon emissions technology. And because of these phenomenal investments, the results really are just outstanding, which brings me to my second point that I want to make here this morning. Alongside the dramatic growth in production, the 150% increase in just the last 7 years alone that I mentioned, the oil and natural gas industry continues to protect and improve the environment. You might have heard people talk about hydraulic fracturing in debates for some office in this country here recently. I don't know. I'm here to tell you, hydraulic fracturing combined with horizontal drilling is the reason the world's air quality has improved over the last decade. The availability of clean burning natural gas that has displaced other forms of energy that have greater levels of pollution in our air because of that natural gas is the reason that we're having better quality air today. And it's the reason that air quality in the U.S. has been improving as well. From the year 2000 to the year 2016, oil and natural gas companies invested over $300 billion in greenhouse gas mitigating technologies. And that, by the way, is more than the other private sectors and government combined during the same time period. And ladies and gentlemen, the good news is the part of this story that we hope you help tell, these investments are working. Thanks to the expanded use of natural gas and power generation, in the United States, energy-related CO2 emissions are near 20-year lows, and methane emissions from oil and natural gas systems are down 14% since 1990. All while production has skyrocketed, CO2 emissions, methane emissions have been trending downward, and we're excited about where this is headed and what is going on. And there's some things that are going on, and I think that influence that. You know, we hear a lot today about wanting to regulate all types of activities, but particularly oil and natural gas. I want us all to recognize the members of the Texas Oil and Gas Association support a science-based regulatory approach. We are some of the biggest advocates in the legislature to go to our senators and representatives and ask for greater funding for the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, to ask for more funding for the Railroad Commission, because we think more data is better data, more science is better science, and that it is only through science that we can solve the challenges of our day. And a lot of that is started right here in our universities in Texas, like at Lamar, and we're excited about that. As we think about regulation in this industry, keep in mind that oil and natural gas systems contribute only 3% of the nation's total greenhouse gas emissions. That's a little fact that you probably don't hear on the nightly news. Oil and natural gas systems contribute only 3% of the nation's total greenhouse gas emissions. Now, having said that, I want to be very clear that caring for our planet is a global responsibility that we all should embrace. I know that in agriculture, if you don't take care of the land, it doesn't take care of you. And oil and gas understands that we have a responsibility. And that's why enormous investments are being made to do things like capture and sequester carbon. Great investments are being made to improve internal combustion engines, improve fuel qualities, to reduce methane emissions. And there are tremendous examples like that. One of these are on the screen. The Environmental Partnership is a group where it's now almost 70 companies have come together to share information, to develop best practices, and these best practices are being offered to companies all across the globe. Industry-led solutions are leading to a cleaner energy future. We know that caring for our environment and growing a robust economy are not mutually exclusive. You can do both, and we need to maintain our commitment to that. We also know that there are calls to keep it in the ground. We know that there are calls to abandon oil and natural gas. But the reality of it is there is no real discussion about what you would substitute these products for. And as we think about where we're going in advancements in technology and environmental stewardship, we know that we can continue to have and play a very significant role, and we're committed to doing just that. And I'm not going to be prolonged on this issue, but I just want to point out that picture on the screen there are wind turbines that are headed to a landfill in Casper, Wyoming. Wind and solar are renewable. Wind towers and solar panels are not. And in fact, these items are made with components of oil and natural gas. And so the point is here, let's have a real thoughtful discussion. Let's not have knee-jerk political reactions on the latest tweet of the day, but let's have a thoughtful process about how we're going to grow our economy, how we're going to meet the needs of our people, how we're going to maintain our security and our independence as a nation, because a lot of the renewable technologies today rely on rare earth minerals. Now, how many rare earth minerals do we mine in the state of Texas? Not that many, or the United States. Where do we get them? From countries that may not have our best interests at heart. Those same type countries who we've been trying to get our independence from. So as we think about energy transition, my point is let's have a thoughtful debate, let's see where we're going, and let's make certain that we're making good choices. My third point real quickly is to get into the challenges and the opportunities. And we had some of these questions here earlier today, and some of these were touched on, and I want to go through these briefly, and I'm checking my time here because it's tough to be the speaker before lunch. And I want to tell you, meals are kind of like the most important thing in my life daily. So it's very important to me. But I have about 10 more minutes or so I want to get through these and really talk to you about them. We talked about eminent domain reform. Those have been topics in the legislature. And I believe that private rights, the right to private property ownership is paramount in Texas. I'm a landowner. I have defended the rights of private property owners my entire public career. And I'm glad to say that the members of the Texas Oil and Gas Association believe in private property rights very strongly as well. And they have made a commitment, our members have, to ensure that as we develop the infrastructure that's needed for our great state, that we do it in the right way. We can't do it in ways that slow down projects or put us in the courthouse. And that's a very fine line when you start drafting legislation. But we talked a lot about the downstream ministry today. They have to have that product if we're going to have the billions of dollars of investment along the Gulf Coast, the hundreds of thousands of jobs that will be created. That product has to move to them timely and efficiently. I can think of nothing worse as a private businessman to have 1,000 men and women sitting in their pickups waiting on you to tell them to go to work, but you can't because of something's tied up at the courthouse. And the thing that has made Texas unique and the growth that we've had is that we recognize that and we try to solve these problems. And so as we look at eminent domain reform, our member companies will be bringing solutions as we have over the past several sessions and talking about how to get that done in the Texas way that moves everyone forward. We know that some people like to protest. And I kind of like that. I drive by them sometimes to see what's going on and what they're talking about. And we believe that the right to express yourself in this country is something that we all want to protect. But we also want to protect workers who are on the job that are sometimes the target of protesters. We want to protect our local law enforcement who are responders to keep the peace. And that's why the legislature passed the Critical Infrastructure Protection Act that said, if you want to protest, we're going to protect your legal right to do so. But when you cross that line and you start impacting someone's job, their infrastructure, you're knowingly committing a crime, and you need to stop that. And so we just need to make certain that we keep those boundaries well defined. The issue of water use was brought up, and I always appreciate that. You know, East Texans have more water than we know what to do with, as Senator Nichols said about the volume that flows out. But water use is very important in a dry, arid state that so much of Texas is. And I'm glad to say that our member companies are partnering with local communities to buy that treated water, Representative Paul, and then use that in their operations. They're investing in reuse and recycling and actually taking products out of that water that needs to be set aside and then reusing that water in their operations. These are good things. When it comes to hurricanes and how to make certain Midstream has a big role, I can tell you this, the last couple of hurricanes we've had, and I've been in this position as president of the Texas Oil and Gas Association, Governor Abbott's been on the phone with us at midnight saying, these plants are shut down. These communities are out of gasoline. What are your members going to do to get gasoline to these communities? And we're calling our Midstream partners and we're saying, how can you, Midstream company, move product to this community that when, 6 o'clock in the morning comes and they're filling up trying to go to work, they're not having shortages at the convenience stores. These are very real life and death issues, having the power that we need to move our society forward. And I'm glad that our members are coming up with solutions. Who doesn't want clean air to breathe, right? We all do. This is a very important aspect, and that's why our members are leading the way in reducing methane emissions, reducing carbon dioxide emissions, and we're just getting started. Significant investment is being made, even in terms of capturing carbon directly out of the air and putting that to a beneficial use. Technology has to develop, but good things are moving forward, and we're really excited about it. Now, this brings me to my final point. And, when I hear speakers say final point, I think about being a kid in a Baptist church, and when the preacher said final point, I knew I had 45 more minutes to go, and it was just a very traumatic experience. You'll be glad to know I am not preaching here today. But I do want to wrap up with this final point about what you can do as a center, what you can do as a university, what you can do as a leader of your community in an elected or an appointed position, or maybe what you can do as a community neighbor. I talked about all of us being in communications, no matter what our role is, and just how important that is. If we think about where Texas is today and where we're going to be in the future, we have about 28 million Texans today, 200,000 new Texans a year coming in, new residents. We're projected to have almost 41 million Texans by the year 2048. If we don't have the infrastructure, you think driving's bad now? I mean, it's awful in a lot of places, and Austin's bad for a lot of things, and their traffic's one of the reasons. But if we don't have the roads we need, if we don't have the power lines we need, if we don't have the pipelines that we need, if we don't have the water lines bringing water to different communities and moving that water around to a productive use, and we're trying to accommodate 41 million people, it doesn't work. So to the importance of our state, our nation, and our world, developing this infrastructure is absolutely the best way to secure our economy, to increase national security, and to protect our fuel supplies during times of natural disaster that you all know way too much about here in this part of the state. With so much oil and natural gas coming out of our fields, we have to have a way to move it forward. I believe the center that you all are working on and that you have launched is essential to develop these breakthrough technologies, these breakthrough efficiencies. Our nation has such a strong partnership between industry and private and our learning institutions and private industry of coming up with good solutions that we have to capitalize on that for Texas continue to be the leader that we always have been. We're also continuing to look to those of you that are involved in the industry in whatever capacity that you're in, to make certain that we maintain that culture of safety, to make certain that we are partners with landowners as we will be utilizing part of their bundle of rights, that we're partners with mineral owners as we seek to develop value for them and their families and to translate their product into a paycheck to them. So no matter what your role is in the industry, you have a role to play. We look to our community leaders, our state leaders, because you have a tremendous responsibility. You do have to separate fact from fiction. You do have to sort through the morass of public debate that's oftentimes influenced by personal opinion, which may not be based on facts. And so we appreciate the role that you have, and we appreciate the role that our universities have. If you think about America, the bedrocks of our success have been sound science and free market principles. I hope we don't sacrifice those bedrock principles as we move forward in this new generation. We look to our community leaders to make certain that you are informed, that you are engaged, and that you're doing your part. Now, for the students in the room today, you get more than a free lunch. You get a complimentary membership to the Texas Oil and Gas Association for 1 year for your work of being here today. And so we appreciate you, and if you will see our staff at the registration table, they will get you signed up. And we want to give you information as you start your careers and as you conclude your work here. And Russell, I think I heard you're taking one class. I don't know if we qualify you for this program or not. I bet you we can. Retiree rate, like a hunting and fishing license. It gets a little bit of a break. You cut the screen. Did I cut the screen up? Here we go. Here's one last thing. If you have your cell phone, this is the last test I'm going to give you this morning. If you have your cell phone, if you'll take it out, I want you to text me. This is not a gimmick. Somebody needs to do this. You're going to leave me hanging, and we won't get to go to lunch. And so if somebody will text 52886, and in the message put Texoga, and tell me if you get a response here. Anybody? It's going to lunch. It's going to get cold on us if somebody does this. I'm not going to spam you. I promise you this. If you do this, this is a way that we can get you information if you want it. We've got it. And it says, look, if you want information about what's going on in oil and natural gas in your area, fill this out and we'll send you an email about it. And I'm on it myself, and I promise you I get a lot of emails, and I don't like junk emails. So this is an important thing. Text us at 52886, and we'll get you information to keep you up to date. I can't tell you how proud I am of those of you who have committed your day to be here. Thank you for your leadership for Texas. It's an honor to be with you.